How to do, folks? This is Carson Payne, and we're coming back to you with another version of a wood carving that we're doing for Mr. Seth Hard and the group Happy Chippers, which is a homemakers group with the Wayne County Cooperative Extension Service, the FCNS group. So we're glad to be able to do this. And today, what we're going to do is we're going to do a different kind of bird carving. We're going to be doing a penguin. Of course, most penguins don't wear a red hat. So this is a gnome penguin. This is kind of a cartoonish type penguin that we're doing. It's not a realistic type, but we are going to be doing a bird carving. And we're just using a 1x1 block about 3 inches long. And we're going to get into that and show you how to lay out for the penguin, because it's a real simple carving, and it's fairly quick to do, and it's a good skill builder as well, as far as your carving skills go. So we'll be right back as soon as we get set up here and laid out so that you can see my hands instead of my beautiful face in the video. Today we're going to be using just a simple block of wood, and this block here is 1 1/8" by 1 1/8" square, and it's approximately 3 1/8 inch long. Now, the size of the block is not that important. The layout of it is, but the size of the block, you could use a 4-inch block, you could use an 1 1/2" size block, depending on what size you want to make the penguin. But that's the block we're going to be using. I'll show you here in just a bit on how to lay that out. But now, the first thing you've always got to do before you ever start your carving is make sure that your carving knives are sharp. And how do you do that? Because after it's once sharp, you've got to keep them stropped. You've got to keep them stropped, and make sure you strop your knives to make sure that they've got a polished edge on them. Because if your knife's not sharp, it's going to make it a chore to try to carve wood. You don't actually cut it. What you wind up doing is wind up beating it off and chipping it off instead of cutting it. And if you keep your knife sharp, and that goes for the same for all the tools, whether you're using a V-tool, whether you're using a fixed blade carving knife, whether you're using a pocket knife, whether you're using a razor type knife like this utility knife, which works good as well. Or if you're even using a tool like this. This is a tool that you're not going to be able to buy at a wood carving shop. This is a tool that I had a gentleman named Glenn Junglinson over in McCreary County make for me. He's a fixed blade knife maker and also works at Kingsford Charcoal as a plant supervisor. But he makes some tremendous knives, and he's made me several different working tools for wood carving. Fixed blade knives, knife picks, and this. And I'll show y'all in a little bit what this does, and you may want to contact him to get one of those. If y'all excuse me a little bit this time, I'm kind of having to clear my throat quite a bit because this is sinus weather. And I live down on Allergy Alley, so I'm constantly having to fight sinus problems, so you may hear me clearing my throat a little bit. So if you do, just kind of ignore that and try to excuse me for doing that while I'm doing the talk. After you get your knives, your tools, whatever tool you're using, stropped to where you're satisfied. And if you're still not sure how to sharpen and keep your knives sharp by stropping, if you'll contact me through Happy Chippers, I'll be glad to sit down with you and give you another one-on-one type of workshop where you can learn to do it properly. Because if your knives aren't sharp, your carving's not going to be enjoyable whatsoever. And I did that I used aluminum oxide on the first part of the stropping and just a plain leather on the second part of the stropping. There's different kind of stropping compounds you can use. You can use the green, the yellow, the ones that come in sticks that you just rub on. I prefer aluminum oxide because that's what I learned on 20 years ago, and it's kind of stuck with me in doing that. And all of your tools, no matter what you're using, you need to make sure that they're stropped and sharp. Then, before you start carving, make sure you put your thumb protector on. and also your carving glove. Because I guarantee you, as careful as you can be, if you don't wear your protective equipment, you're going to cut yourself, and you may even cut yourself while using this protective equipment. First thing we're going to do is lay out the penguin. Now this one has a little bit of a short hat on it, and after you've got your block in hand, you can decide how large of a hat you want to put on this penguin. It can be a tall hat, it can be a short hat, it can be a hat that's twice as long as what the body is. It doesn't make any difference. That's just your own choice. But what you've got to do is lay out where that hat's going to lay. Now I'm going to choose to do this one at about halfway of the block. So I mean, you don't have to measure it because this is just pretty close. Come about halfway of the block and go all the way around the block. Just make you a mark all the way around to line out where the hat is going to be, the bottom of the hat rather. Okay, so there we've got the hat laid out all the way around the block. All right, if you'll notice, the body of the penguin is basically kind of egg-shaped. It's kind of egg-shaped. So to finish laying this out, the front, the nose, the beak of the penguin is going to be done on the angle. So that we can remember where we're at, we're going to come down from the hat line about a ½ inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch, and make a mark showing where the top of the beak is going to be. And this can be modified a little bit as you go along with the carving. But since it is a bird, it does have a beak instead of a nose. So we're going to lay out where we're putting the beak. This is just so we can remember which one is the front of the block that we're using for the front. And you may also want to come down here below it and put a little arrow that shows that that's the front of the block there that you're going to be using. Now, the next few things you've got to do is just you start out by shaping the hat. And a gnome type hat, usually it'll come up with kind of like a swoop and come around. You know, it's not straight up. And this is however you want to draw it. And that's how I chose to draw this one. Is right like that. Okay, and you've got your hat drawn out. And you've got your body drawn out here. And this is going to be, like I say, the body is going to be kind of egg-shaped. So you'll kind of go down like this to delineate where how you're going to be shaping the block. Just kind of down from the edge a little bit so you can see it where it's going to be rounded off. Now this doesn't have to be exact because as you're carving, that shape's going to change a little bit anyhow as you get into it. First thing I always do is I start working on the hat. And you'll do a stop cut right at the bottom of the hat on the corner. And here at the edge where it's going to be rounded off, I just kind of go up there and bring that notch out to get the shape started. And I do that on all four sides. Stop cut, then a paring cut back up to that. Stop cut, and then a paring cut back up to that. And we're also going to do that here on the front as well. We're going to do it on all four corners. And then you're going to do stop cuts along the bottom of the hat. Be very careful. Stay in control of your knife. And just make your stop cut right along the bottom of that hat. Right like that. And then you're gonna do a push cut back up to that to delineate the hat. See how it's coming up there? And you're going to do that on all four sides of the hat so that you can see where the bottom of the hat is, right there. And you're going to do that all the way around. Okay, now you've got the shape of the hat up here. And I want to show you with your knife you want to take and use a push cut for safety. Make sure you keep your fingers out of the way and use a push cut and start bringing that hat shape into place. Just do it with a push cut and bring it all the way down. Now you can, at the same time, you can also start bringing it from the back because it's going to come up into a cone shape. So you're actually going to bring it down in all four places. All right, even on the front, you're even going to bring it down on the front. But you're going to have to bring it down quite a bit more than what I did just there. Now I'm going to show you what I use this tool right here for, in case that you want to get you one made. And what this amounts to, it lets you remove a whole lot of stock real quick. Is what it does. And again, you've got to be real careful when you're using this thing, because just like the pocket knives, this thing is sharper than stank. But this is what I use this for, is when I've got a workbench that I can get down against and just bring it down and remove quite a bit of stock fairly quickly. Well, you've got to hold on to your wood first and bring it down. But you start bringing the hat down till you bring the shape down, and you do the stop cuts around the hat to delineate the hat, and then round off, make it egg-shaped or close to egg-shaped on the body. Like we've already got it started. You can see right here under the hat, and here at the bottom, you can take a little bit off. Take a little bit off to help delineate the egg shape, to kind of lay it out. And as you can see, you've got the shape of the body started, and then you just have to round it off all the way around. Now, I've got one that I've already gotten to the point that I've got the hat ready, and I've rounded the body off enough to satisfy me. This is the front of the penguin. This is the front of it. You can see the body is not totally round, but it's fairly well round. And we're going to come back in where we've taken off the beak, and we're going to redraw that beak in. Again, you can make that beak whatever size you want to, because it's your carving. And you make it however you want to. And just draw a little triangle there.
It's an upside down triangle, isn't it?
An upside down triangle. Well, yeah, you're right. It is an upside down triangle. I hadn't really thought about that. But that delineates the nose. And as far as the tuxedo look, where you've got the white shirt and the tuxedo jacket around the outside, to make those two circles, all you do is take and draw a small circle at the top. I'm going to come right here about halfway through the beak, and just like I'm drawing a half a circle right there. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. We're drawing a small circle. Now, we've got that circle done, but we're going to come down here below this, and we're going to do another circle, but a larger circle. We're going to do a larger circle. And that shows where it's going to be the white, and then the outside is going to be the black. Then you've got the beak in the center. And the eyes, I just took and did a couple of dots of black paint for the eyes on the penguin, rather than carving the eyes in. Okay, now after you get to this point, you do a stop cut along by the beak, because the eye area up here is going to be fairly flat, and start taking that down some to make it flat. Just take your time and make it flat, so you'll have a flat place for the eyes to be. You don't take big chunks out at a time. Just take little pieces out and make that a little bit like that. Okay, now as far as your beak goes, you'll take and go around that beak with a stop cut. like that. And then again, a stop cut at the top of the beak. And then you bring out the beak a little bit more then. By doing a push cut, or you can even do a V-type cut down beside the beak to bring the beak out of the face. You can see how the beak comes out of the face with that. And we'll clean this little area up right here just a little bit to make it more stand out. Okay, now that takes care of the beak. Underneath the beak and above the beak, you're going to tend to flatten this out a little bit more. Bring it down to where it flattens out a little bit more, so that it'll look more like the front of his tuxedo shirt. And bring it down like that. Okay, now as far as the outside area, again, you do the same thing. Do a stop cut. Around both circles, the small one and the larger one as well. Doesn't have to be perfect, because nothing in nature is perfect anyhow. Well, it is perfect, but it's not totally geometrical. Then you'll do a V-cut to get that little area out. Let's see, and see, that's going to delineate where the face is and the front of the shirt. Okay, you would do that on both sides, and then you would come back and start taking down a little bit more right here, depending on how the grain of your wood's running. And you'd bring it down a little bit to bring it out a little bit more. Again, you don't take big chunks out, just a little bit to kind of shave it down some. But take it out enough that you can see the detail coming out on it. And if you need to, you can even bring the beak out a little bit more by doing the same thing, by bringing the wood down. You would do that on the top and the bottom. To bring out the detail that you're going to be painting in a little bit. But you just keep doing that until it looks to suit you. Now here, this one, we're going to bring this one down a little bit more here, right around the eyes, just to make it look a little bit more aesthetic. At least to me. And you can do that on both sides. Okay, and then you do the stop cuts on this side as well and bring it down. Okay, now I've got another one here that I've already got all that done on. And we'll show you here how we've got the stop cuts done. We've got the front ready. We've got the beak out. We've got the hat separated from the body. The body is kind of egg-shaped, front and back. And the hat is shaped the way I wanted it shaped. I put a little curve right at the very top. And you can make your hat any way you want to. Like I say, you can make a short hat. You can make that size hat that comes halfway, or you can even make the penguin shorter and make a super long hat on it. It's just whatever you want to do. with your penguin and the look you want from it, because it's your carving, and make it yours. Make it your own is what you've got to do. There are certain things you've got to learn in doing wood carving, but after you've learned those skills and have learned how to bring out the detail in the carving, then you can have a little bit of freedom in doing it and how you do it. Now, after that's done, the next thing is the painting. I used an antique white inside the shirt, what I call the shirt, the tuxedo shirt. For the penguin, this was antique white. The beak was a tangerine color, and this same color is the same color I use that on most of the bird carvings, whether it's a cardinal, whether it's a goldfinch or whatever. I usually use that color right there for the beak. It just seems to work for all of them. And then, of course, the tuxedo jacket is black, is what I chose. If you wanted to put him in a green tuxedo, you could do that because it's your carving. And the hat I chose as red because it's Christmas, and this looks like a penguin gnome. So I like red hats on my gnomes that I carve, so that's why I painted it red. And after you paint this, now remember I had told you earlier about drilling a little bit of hole right in the very bottom of it. This hole right here is just the right size to take a shish kebab skewer that you can buy at Walmart or anywhere else. You don't have to go buy a dowel rod, but just drill a little hole right in the very bottom of it, and you can hold that painting and not get paint all over your hands. Normally I get paint all over my hands anyhow because I'm messy like that. But that'll help keep the paint off your hands. And as you're painting it, after you get it painted, then you put the skewer back in the hole, and you can hold it up and put a clear coat, either a matte finish or a semi-gloss finish on it, either one. But if you like it real shiny, you can use a gloss finish. But that pretty much sums up how to do a penguin gnome. Now, I got this idea out of Wood Carving Illustrated, and Sarah Barraclough is the person whose idea I borrowed, and I want to thank her for that tutorial that she gave, because it's a real simple little penguin, easy to do, doesn't take a long time, and it's a good skill builder as far as your wood carving skills go, because you use several different cuts to finish out the penguin. Now, after you get it all done, I also want to encourage you, always take and sign your work. I use CP because Carson Payne, of course, I just use the initial CP and date them as 2022 when I carved this one, because you never know where those carvings are going to go to in life. You know, they may go through several different families, because there's going to be somewhere that really likes your carving, some people that really like your carving, and they will collect those. They will collect those carvings, and they like your work, so that way they can keep up with when it was done and who did it. So, folks, this has been Carson Payne for the Whitley. Let me back up. I moved over here from Whitley County about 7 years ago, so I've not gotten out of that yet. For the Wayne County Cooperative Extension Service, the homemakers groups, on behalf of them and Mr. Seth Hart, the fine arts coordinator for the county. And I want to encourage you, if you want to learn to wood carve, come and join us for Happy Chippers. All you've got to do is be a homemakers member. It costs you $10 a year, and you can join right in with us. We meet once a month, the third Thursday of each month at 1 o'clock, right down here in the lower level of the extension office. And we'd be glad to have you. We'd be glad to help you learn how to wood carve as well. So come be with us, and thank you all very much.